Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Aligning with Success on July 23rd. Just a real quick plug as we're getting started. If you haven't already got your summit tickets, please don't hesitate. There's only so much space, and I don't want to say how much is gone, but more than half for sure. In fact, even our hotel room blocks, I have to go down to the hotel tomorrow and see if we can negotiate some more because they're gone. If you've got some people who are sitting on the fence on your team, please let them know that don't hesitate, that this will be a sold out event. You can bet on it. Anyways, thanks for joining us. Normally, as you know, I always have something to say and something to add. I just been thinking we've had a lot of really good stuff, but we need to do a little bit more sharing about how that good stuff is being put to use. One thing I also do want to remind you, and I'm going to remind you again at the end of the call, this month, please do your 500 points if you haven't done already. Your personal volume points, 500, because Niken has an incentive that they're going to enact on behalf of only for those individuals who have done their 500 PV. We are at July 23rd, so we're closing in on the end of the month. Anyways, so I've been talking a lot about the things that I think are pretty important in getting our business on the right track. It has to do with the mind, of course. Last week we got into a bunch of stuff concerning the ABC, which I think is super, super good content that you can use for educating your organizations as you're sponsoring somebody new. Teach them how to do an ABC, get them on that video so that you can add that to your repertoire of tools. Let's see, where was my, so just the idea of our thought process and how we are attracting based on our thoughts, and what we can do is a useful way of starting to attract what we want in our lives. I've been also coaching a group, and we call it Team Kaizen, and that there's some of the members of Team Kaizen that I'm working with are on this call. They were asked if they wouldn't mind writing gratitude statements down for 3 weeks. This is, I think, we're going to be going on week number 3. And just to see how that would affect their business if they just simply wrote in the form of an affirmation or what they're grateful for. And it could obviously be something they're currently grateful for or something that they're grateful for having received in terms of a success that they're, an impending success that they're working toward. That would be that vibration up here. This is current reality. This is what we're striving for, what we're reaching for, which is at a higher frequency, a higher vibration than where we're at. But the moment we make a decision to go for this, we flip the switch in our mind to this frequency. When we affirm it by being with a gratitude statement every day, like I am grateful for a sold out summit. Every time I make that statement, I'm operating at this space. And then what is actually happening is I'm in harmony with all things that are true about that statement, that reality being a sold out event, which means all the circumstances get drawn into my sphere of observation, my point of observation, my consciousness, which could be things like getting a phone call from Mexico and saying, we've got 29 more registrations we'd like to get in. Can you help us with that? It's just amazing how that works. So I'm hoping that maybe some of the people who I've been working with on this will share insights that they've had or successes that they've had since they've been tapping into this higher faculties of the mind. The idea that we can create our reality, we do create our reality, but in a meaningful way, in a purposeful way, rather than an unconscious way. So how about me turning to you guys tonight for a change and saying, tell us, what have you been doing in terms of the application of some of this science, if you want to call it that, science of mind, whatever, to generate results in your business? And anybody can go. It's an open call. So if you want to unmute yourself and jump in and say, hey, Mike, since I've been making these gratitude statements, or hey, Mike, since you've been talking about focusing your attention on the frequency and the things that you want to achieve, whatever. Tell us in practical terms, how's that translating into your business? What's showing up? Because no question about it, stuff is showing up. So,
Mike,
yes.
one of my gratitude statements is that my downline have reactivated. The ones that sitting on the fence. I got a phone call this week from one of my downline silvers. I had sent out a broadcast email about the incentive with Nikan. She renewed and she did her 500 points to qualify for the incentive being announced in August. And I've had 3 appointments with business people this week, and it's gone beyond the initial introduction in wanting more information, and our next calls are already scheduled.
Fabulous. Barb, are you specifying the number of people that are reactivating?
No, I haven't specified, Mike.
Okay, so let me let me leave you with that thought, because what are the examples that Bob Proctor used in the seminar? I've seen him do it many times. He'll say, how many of you want more money? How many of you'd like to have more money? And of course, everybody's hand goes up. And so he pulls somebody from the audience and he gives them $1. He says, there you go, you have more money. So if we don't specify how much more, then, you know, it's not going to provide us with the kind of answer that we're really after. So get busy setting very finite goals. I'm told that if it's not measurable, it's not a goal. And if you're not setting a goal, then you're not activating the higher frequency or the higher faculties, if you will. So set those goals in terms of finite numbers, things that you can actually measure, because then you can say to yourself, really, okay, I set this goal, this is what happened. Anyone else?
I also had about taking the team to Toronto, so I've got to specify how many members will be purchasing their tickets.
Yes, that's exactly right. You've got to have a goal, and it's got to be numbers. So,
okay.
And the other thing I'm going to suggest to everybody, consider this. Whenever you do set a goal and attain it, you're going to be reminded by yourself and by me that you could have set a higher goal. So it's all the same to the universe. Mm-hmm. Anyone else?
I'll go.
Yes, go ahead, Suzanne.
So one of my grateful statements is, I am so grateful working with 4 legs going platinum.
Thank you.
And I think if I had set that in years past, I don't think I would believe that it was possible. But since setting that and saying it and really being mindful of that whole experience, thinking and believing that and going through that every day, I have 2 that are now seeing that possibility that I don't think they would have seen that, and possibly even 3, but 2 in the same leg. So, you know, that's pretty amazing that can come to fruition that quickly.
Okay, I'm glad you said that. 2 things you brought up. One is that you're pleasantly surprised that it can happen quickly, and I think the universe loves speed. So remember that the universe loves speed. And 2, the first thing you mentioned, which I want to tap on, is that you believe. Now, if you understand this law, it doesn't matter if you believe. That's what's so amazing about this law. Because consider this, what you believe to be true is pinned on your experience, is based on what you have encountered in your life stream of consciousness, which includes all of the consciousness you've been associated with, past and the present. What we're talking about is up here. So this is not a belief that's required. It is a leap of faith that is required. And so we detach from the notion of needing to believe it, and we move to the notion of operating from faith. And it's not blind faith either, because you have enough experience in your belief system that says, you know what, whenever I have set goals, whenever I've done this, I have attained. There has been forward movement in my life. So you have sufficient evidence in your life and the lives of others and history to suggest that this idea of setting a goal, moving to a higher frequency, and attracting to you the things that are necessary. And not only that, but you'll also think about times in your life when, let's say the goal was to buy a house or to go on a vacation and you didn't have the money, or to get a car and you didn't have the money. But once you made the goal, once you made the decision, you started acquiring what was necessary to make that happen. In other words, you didn't have it in place when you made the decision, but by the time it actually happened, you look back and said, well, all these things happened to make this possible. So that decision was a leap of faith. And therefore, the belief is unnecessary for attaining whatever it is that we want to attain as a goal. It's just an act of faith. Faith is the understanding that there is a lawful process by which all the transmutation of energy, all things move into form. It's an orderly and lawful process. You know, when you plant a seed in the ground, you believe it's going to grow. What's the evidence? You've had all the experience of that happening. So yeah, you can say, I believe this is going to happen because you've seen it happen. It's historical. You don't need much faith to plant the seed in the ground and see something sprout. There's almost no faith required at all because it's sound reason. It's belief that it's a reality. There's a law operating here, even though you maybe don't understand it. But when you plant the seed of an idea, especially one that you have not yet seen come to fruition, no belief is required. All the faith is what's required. So this is what's so beautiful about being able to operate this law. It should be completely liberating to everyone to know that you don't have to believe. And I know it's been totally taught to you. You got to believe, you got to believe, you got to believe. Everybody's talked about, you got to believe, you got to believe. No. The real metaphysicists, the real spiritual masters, they know it's not about that, especially if it's about attaining something you've not seen before. This is faith-based creating. And that's where you want to move. So thanks for bringing that up so I got a chance to talk about that. Laura, you've got your hand up.
Well, yeah, on the heels of that, two things. One, I just thought going to New Hampshire to see my sister and my aunt and to my other family was just totally out of the question. And yet that happened to me last week. I just made the decision and said, we're going to New Hampshire. And then in 3 days' time, everything just fell into place where, wow, we really can go to New Hampshire for 10 days, you know? And it surprised me. I was like, wow. And in a week's time, instead of saying, well, I'm going to go gold, all of a sudden, I was thinking platinum. Gee, I wonder why, because Suzanne was saying platinum, 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 and I was just saying gold, 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 and all of a sudden I'm like, no, we need to do this so I can go to Italy, you know, and it never occurred to me before, because really I was going, silver, just silver, you know, and then I thought, well, that's not a BHAG at all. And so in a week's time, those two things happened, and I was like, wow, you know, and you're right. It's just faith, and you're like at a different level, and you're like, wow, why did that happen? But you're like, you always say, it's the law, it's the law, it's the law, and it's irrefutable. So.
All right. That's awesome. And you know what? It's true. It is the law, and you will be surprised at times because, and think about it. I mean, what happens if you become aware, and you will, that you've been wielding this power all this time? All this time, all these years of your life, you have been the source of creating what you've been creating. Not the power behind that is infinite. The power behind that is the entire power behind the universe. But you have been the host of what you've been creating. Now think about that, all your entire life.
We'll be kicking our butts at wasting time.
Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you be like thinking about that now, saying, I can't believe it. And the more practice you have at this, surprising yourself, then you're going to start to realize, I have to up the ante here. I got to increase my expectations because I've been playing small. Anybody else? Yes, Michelle.
First and foremost, what I have discovered is attitude change. Shift in attitude from that attitude of doubt or hesitation to total faith, like you're saying. And what I have been doing is at nighttime, before I go to bed, is I write down my affirmation and goal, and I sleep on it. I put it under my pillow, and then I wake up in the morning and I read it out loud. What has happened in my business is one of my partners who's here today on this call has had a huge shift with her husband and with her attitude. So that is very, very profound and in a very, very short time.
Fantastic. Fantastic. This is just amazing. It's like a miracle network here we got going. Who's next?
I'll go next, Michael.
Okay, Maggie, go ahead.
One of my affirmations is that I have 3 qualified diamonds with huge teams, and they are platinum by the end of this year. So I have, in just this week alone, brought on 2 business partners who have, I believe, the ability and the energy to do that. And, you know, I have not had that many people come on board in that short a time in a long time. Plus, I have another person who's also considering coming on board as a business partner. So it's fabulous.
Amazing. That is just awesome. Anyone else? Yes, Dee.
In the last week, I've had 2 new customers out of the blue, and both had hitches with their orders. One man called me to say he was given my name and number, and he planned to order something, and he wanted to do it himself. But I found out that it didn't go under me. So it was a call to Nika, that was on a weekend, on the following Monday, just to see what was going on and correct that. Another gal, I got an email from saying she had trouble placing her order. So I called her, I called Nikan first, I called her. She'd ordered the waterfall, but she'd ordered the Aquapore filter. So I was able to intercept shipping the wrong filter and getting the correct one ordered. So both of them felt good from a customer service standpoint, but really they came out of the blue. And one of my affirmations is that I am attracting customers who will have a long-term auto ship. Now, none of those auto ships are set up yet, but that will be part of the follow-up that I plan to happen. You know, I've got the new consultants and the affirmations as well, and that's not happened yet, but I'm hopeful with a couple people soon. So it's been fun.
Awesome. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, while you're thinking, and if you've got something else, please step in. Okay, you just brought up something follow-up. I've been meaning to talk about this for the last couple of calls, and I haven't done that yet. Just the idea of follow-up. Follow-up in what sense? Well, especially where the business is concerned. One of the reasons why it's so critically important we find out their why, the thing that motivates them to explore Nikan. It's not necessarily that they're going to get in, but just that they're going to explore it. That's the bait. And if they don't want something, you haven't baited the hook, there's no motivation for them to attend a meeting, to go online, to review a video, to read a book, nothing. There's just no motivation behind that. You've got to bait them with their own personal motivation. Otherwise, there's nothing leading them into the experience, drawing them, energizing them into the experience. So most of the time that you're going to spend with somebody at the early stages of the dialogue, that first conversation, is really about what they want out of life, finding out what's important to them, because it's through that you're going to be able to figure out what is the bait, essentially. So follow up by first reminding them again what it was or why they were at all interested in, first of all, exploring this. Just go back to that and keep going back to that, because that is ultimately the one thing and the only thing that's going to draw them through this entire information to the point where they make a decision. Remember that. Keep that in mind. Their why, their why, their why. And then when they get in the business, it's the same thing. Now, if you haven't read Richard Brooks' 4-Year Career, please do. I watched a recent training video that he did. I think I pushed it out. I may have pushed it out. I encourage some people anyway to review that recent training that he did on this. And if I haven't done that, just remind me. I put it out on the tools WhatsApp link, I think. And in it, he goes into his description of how to use this book as a prospecting tool. And I really appreciated listening to it again and refreshing my mind. By the way, he's interviewing me on August 22nd for his Heroes Call. So that'll be something that we can also leverage. But I just thought that it was really good information the way he was instructing us. He said, if you're downline, and he's very pragmatic about it. He's very honest about the stats. He says, this is the percentage of the people in your team that are going to do something. This is the percentage of people that are not going to do something. That's just the way it is. However, he said, most people who don't do something, it's because they don't understand this. They still haven't figured out the motivation for building a business. They haven't figured this out. They haven't quite understood this. He says, read it again. If you don't understand this, read it again. And read it again, because what's contained in here is a understanding. That aha, when that click goes in, you switch from somebody who's trading time for money to somebody who understands MSIs, how to leverage. Again, you can know about something, but until you actually own it, you can't really articulate it. You can't really express it with any degree of passion and understanding whereby you can influence others. I think it's so important we have an understanding of this concept of the compounding and leveraging time, because it's not a short-term play. This is something he talks about. You're going to have to work. And for about 3 to 4 years, you're going to have to deal with the fact that it seems like there's more work than there is pay. But you're building an asset that will pay you for life. And this is not a mentality we're accustomed to, especially if we come from the E quadrant, the self-employed quadrant or employee quadrant. It's not a mentality we're accustomed to. We're looking always for the immediate return, the immediate pay, etc. So keep that in mind, that is the way it is, the way 95% of the population have been conditioned. So it's not their fault that they're not absolutely chomping at the bit to do this or diligent about doing this with any degree of consistency. They don't get this. They don't understand the power of this consistency. The idea of doing something small but with some consistency will compound. Not everybody you talk to is going to get in. Not everybody you talk to has to get in. But if you keep talking, you keep talking, you keep talking, you compound. And I can tell you through follow-up, you're going to find some people join you way down the road who may have not joined you the first time around, but after the 4th or the 5th or the 10th time, they join you, and then they could be the biggest star on your team. It just took them a while to get this, or to have some circumstances in their life change where the motivation became much more meaningful. So it's really, really important we understand the game, the business that we're in, the power of the business that we're in, the power of compounding, the power of leveraging. This is what makes it worthwhile. This is what makes the hard days worth going through and getting through. So I just wanted to mention that. I also want to give you one other thing that happened to me today. I was on an ABC call, and I heard myself say something for the first time. I thought, that's pretty good. I need to remember that. So it was with respect to time, the time objection. And I said, you notice how people always seem to find time for the things they're passionate about. I mean, if you're passionate about golf, you're going to find time. If you're passionate about reading, you're going to find time. People seem to find time and make time for the things they're passionate about. Wouldn't you agree with that? And the person's agreed with that because it's true. So I said, well, I don't expect that you're going to make a whole lot of time for this unless you're passionate about it. But the people who've done really, really well are really passionate about it. They went through a process. And through that process, they learned about Nikken, they experienced these products and got very passionate about it. And then they made time for it. So if you're thinking, I don't have the time for doing the business, I can totally appreciate that. You're not passionate about this yet. But if you give yourself permission to get educated about this, make a connection with these products, you may become very passionate about this, at which point you will make time. I tell you what I'm passionate about, and then I got into the whole concept of compounding. I'm super, super passionate about the idea of compounding and leveraging. I know that 95% of the population don't know about compounding and leverage. They think they know. For instance, someone who may be critical of network marketing, that alone tells me they don't know. You would never be critical of your salvation, would you? Unless you didn't understand it. So it's really cool to be able to talk like that. The idea of, I can talk about this because I'm passionate about it. I don't expect you to talk about this unless you're passionate about it. So help people turn to realize that it is a business that is perpetuated because of people's passion. And therefore, it's helping other people discover it, become passionate about it. And so our business model is really simple. It's not brick and mortar. It's not major investments. It's not pushing paper. It's not dealing with governments and bureaucracy. It's about helping people find what they're passionate about, helping them to unleash that passion. Nikken is a vehicle for passionate, purposeful people.
You were on my shoulder this week, Mike, or last week, when I had a conversation with somebody and they said, is this multi-level marketing? And I could hear you saying, what do you know about multi-level marketing? Tell me what your perception is about multi-level marketing. So that took us into a whole different conversation. And a result of that conversation, I had just watched Kim Brooks' webinar on her career, 4-year career for women. Yeah. Well, I'm hoping this person, and we had 2 conversations. One that was just with her. The other one was her telling me that her husband is considering joining her in this opportunity. So I said, if I send him the book geared to, maybe a little more masculine, but there's nothing wrong with him reading the book I'm going to send to you, do you think he'd read it? And she said, absolutely. So those books went out first thing Friday morning.
Excellent.
So they should have them, if they didn't get them today, tomorrow, because I did express them.
Now, thank you for that. Richard gets into this, by the way. He gets into how to hand the book, like what to say to get the book read. And again, it comes back to that person's why. Relate the book to the why. He talks about, if you understand what their why is, let's say it's a vacation. He says, well, I'm reading a book. It teaches me how to get all the time in the world for the vacations that I want to take, all the time, the money, and freedom that I need to take the vacations I want. You think if you believe that was true, that'd be something you'd be interested in? Person says, yeah, well, yeah. He says, well, I've got my copy here. If I give you this copy tonight, do you think you might read it in the next 24 hours? So it's a conditional exchange, but he's creating the why. He's really, really tightening the screw on that why to create the motivation to at least entertain. And he doesn't even say read it. He says, look it over. Just look it over. That's a much easier thing to think about. Not reading, I'm going to read it from, and there's going to be a quiz at the end of it. No, just look it over. And if you do that, you'll find people will actually take the time. But it's good information. It's really solid information.
Kim recommended that the exercises be done in the book. So I mentioned that to this person. And I said, there are some exercises for you to fill in the blanks. Think about, fill in the blanks. Would you be willing to do that? Yeah, I would. I said, okay, great. I'll phone you Tuesday. And if you've had the book, we'll talk a bit about it. If you haven't had a chance to do the exercises, we'll set up another time and we'll go through your answers to those exercises so that you'll be in the decision-making mode of whether you're going to move forward with this whole opportunity.
Good. I think it's really critical that if you establish the why, then whatever you're asking them to do, whatever hurdle you're asking them to jump over, watch this video, be on this call, let me introduce you to somebody, review this document, check out this book, whatever it is that you're going to ask them to do, at that point they'll do, because there's motivation. And it's not your motive, it's their motive that's driving them. So keep that in mind. Chris, you've got your hand up.
Yes, I wanted to share that you and I and Michelle, who is my sponsor, had a phone call last week, I think it was, and you recommended for my husband and I to read the cash flow quadrant and the business for people who like to help people.
Right.
I'm sure I don't have that
Business
correct.
School for People Who Like Helping People by Robert Kiyosaki.
Yes. So I got those books from Michelle a couple days later, and we've been reading them, and my husband is totally ready to come to a NECAN event with me and join what I'm doing, where before I think he was a little bit more skeptical and didn't quite understand network marketing. And so we were able to sit down and have a conversation about what our goals are, short-term and long-term, for the NECAN business. And that's just taken a huge weight off of my shoulders, because I was always feeling like I had this tug of war between the two sides, and I don't have that anymore. So yay.
That's huge. That is huge. Great, great, great advice for anyone who has a significant other, or if you're sponsoring someone who has a significant other who's digging their heels in. Boy, if you can get the two on the same page, that's everything. And what's going to get them on the same page? When they can see their dreams fulfilled together, because there's a tool, there's an instrument now at their disposal. That's the key. And that's, again, it's their motivation. You see, they don't have to do the business. They have to first discover why they might want to do it. And that's our job. Our job is to get them to consider why they might even consider this as a business. And that's where all the dreams start to come alive. When they start to understand, my goodness, I have been living in the dark ages when it comes to financial intelligence, as Robert Kiyosaki refers to it. So, yeah. That's why I'm passionate about the business. I'm passionate about the business because it's a business that teaches people. I told this fellow today on my call, I said, my 3 children are going to be speaking at this event in Toronto. Why? Because they have been born and raised in a NECAN environment. And it's not just the products that they've benefited from. It's the whole philosophy and the psychology of being somebody who can create their own reality. They have a vehicle, they understand this vehicle, and they've got things to talk about at the ripe old age of 20 and 19 and 15. So, that's what I'm excited about. I'm excited about the idea that we can help people gain an understanding that literally puts them in the driver's seat of freedom. And if freedom is anything they ever aspire to have, they have to have this. They have to create MSIs. One other point about MSIs. I used to be reluctant about bringing the subject up of MSIs because I would be thinking in my mind, yeah, but if you're telling people to have multiple businesses, then no, NECAN is just going to be one of their businesses, and you're telling them to go find other businesses. It didn't occur to me until recently in a conversation that I had with Luis Casuga in Mexico that, no, every time I enroll someone, I just created another stream of income. Every time they enroll somebody, I've just created another stream of income. My NECAN business gives me an exponentially scalable way of creating MSIs. I don't need another business. I have many businesses. Think about that. We often talk about NECAN being our business, singular. It's actually our MSI's business. It's how we create MSIs. It's through this vehicle that we create MSIs. So it's not just a business. I have thousands of businesses. My network consists of thousands of people, some big businesses, some small businesses, but they're all part of my MSIs. Your Nikken business is an MSI factory. I just said that for the first time. I thought that's pretty good. What do you think? It's an MSI factory. Your Nikken business is not a business, it's an MSI factory. That's awesome. That's huge. Cool. Thanks, Dee. Big aha. All right. Well, we don't have to belabor this point. Did anybody think about something else that's happened in the last week or two that is like moving for you in terms of attracting people? Or, success? Yes.
I was amazed at my attitude change after listening to Veronica. Was it Veronica or Victoria?
Veronica.
Veronica.
Yeah.
I loved her saying, and I don't care what they think. I know where I need to go, and I'm going. And we have a person who was in for about 2 years. She dropped out for about a year. And maybe 6-7 months ago, she said, I think I want to look at this thing again. And that's because she kept ordering products from me. And I said, well, you do what you need to do. You understand. I said, but if you want me to have the profit from your, the products that you want, that's fine with me. I said, but you've been giving me other people who want products. And I will gladly accept their profit, but you might want to reconsider. And she said something, and I said, well, it's up to you. And I really didn't care. I really didn't care. And then her sister, I told her, I said, and your sister has been ordering multiple times, and she's now doing a auto ship for the Vital Balance and the Cleanse and Detox. And she said, yeah. I said, well, if you come in and if you'll work, then I will put her under you. And that can be something you can look forward to. But what you really need to do is get on board this month of July with the 500 PV, for which Nikken is going to give us a gift. And she said, you do that? I said, yeah, I'll do that. But if you're not going to work, I'll keep her. I did not care.
And you know why that works? Because it's no strings. People don't feel any strings coming from you. It's not like an expectation that you have to. They already have that from everywhere else. And here you come along and say, look, it's here. If you want to eat, it's a cookie on a cookie tray. You can eat it if you want. You don't have to eat it. It's up to you. And when it's genuine like that, people feel like they really are being given a choice. They feel really respected. That's huge. What a way to build a business. What a great way to build a business. So it's not that we don't care, as in I really don't care about this person. It's just that we don't care what choice they make. It's their choice. And that's empowering to them, not just to you.
Exactly. And what happened was, I said, if you're going to re-enroll, you're going to have to do it by fax because you've already been in once before. I said, but when your sister gives me her money, if you're not already in, she's my customer. She scrambled and she got her money in, and she's legit now.
Right on. Too much. Okay, good. By the way, I don't know if you guys have seen this. I know on the screen, and let me do speaker view here. So for those of you who are watching the playback, this is a card that you can pick up from lifeandbalancetools.com. Okay, so what is it? Basically, it's our business model. It's like, if you do this, if you can help somebody make $500 a month, you can make $40,000 a month. That's just it. It's that simple. It's a cookie cutter understanding of how to scale our business from a small business that multiplies itself because everybody's doing that little thing. Well, that little thing consists of this, which includes 5 customers. I just want to make this point because it's not a lot to actually have a business that looks like this: 3 partners and 5 customers who are loving the Nikken products and telling people about the Nikken products, but on some type of an auto ship or self or consumption. So this little core circle of influence, that little thing, when multiplied through our network of 3, who then teach 3, who then teach 3, and what are they teaching them? This is what they're teaching them. And so 5 customers, I don't know if you've done the math, if you realize this, but the brilliance of that is that if you have 5 customers, let's say you join Nikken today and you buy yourself a Nikken waterfall. That's it. You just start with a Nikken waterfall. When you have 5 customers purchase what you purchased, because what are you going to talk about? The sleep system? I doubt it. You're going to talk about the waterfall. When you have 5 customers purchase the waterfall like you did, because all you're saying is, hey, what's good for the goose might be good for the gander. I did this for me. You might want to do this for your family. You can speak with integrity when you do that. When 5 people purchase that product, the retail profits paid for your product. Your product is free. What else do you want from Niken? How about a sleep system? Take on a sleep system, start sleeping on the sleep system, and when your 5 customers buy a Niken sleep system, yours is free. It pays for yours. And so you have a vehicle for acquiring a Niken wellness home free by encouraging 5 others to do the same. And every one of your partners have that ability. So what we actually have is an engine, a methodology for paying for our own self-care. So when you are asked from people, why is this so important? Well, Tommy, do you think health is important? Yeah. Well, who's paying for it? Right now, I see a lot of arguments in Congress and so forth over who's going to pay for it. We figured out how to, not only how to have it, but how to pay for it. How's that? That's
I had an unusual thing happen today. Second conversation with a prospect. And she said to me up front, she said, I really appreciate the fact that you've taken time to answer my questions, send me the information that I needed for my decision making. But initially, I'd like to be a customer. But my concern is, if I become a customer, do you get any credit for anything I order, considering the time that you have taken to work with me? And I said, yes, I do. But when you're ready to go ahead with the business, you've already told me people that have challenges. I will work with you, explain to them how they can be helped with the technologies. When they place an order, you get that commission. Oh, okay. So she registered as a customer today.
Fantastic.
And going through some more information.
I think this is really an important aspect of our business model, is to help people understand that it is a way to obtain products that are incredibly valuable. By sharing this message, you get your products for free. I think that's a really great statement. I think that's one of the highlights you want to make and point out, that there aren't that many business models out there where you can get products for free. And you can, not only that, but you can become rather wealthy, encouraging others to do the same. At least financially independent, encouraging others to be. You know, there's one thing about the network marketing model that's not possible in any other business model on the planet today. And I'm going to give an example. Do you believe that if you were to really do this model, okay, that those 5 customers that you're working with, okay, do you believe that you can actually give them their product for free every month? If you're making 10, 20, 30, $40,000 a month, can you afford to literally give those 5 customers their products for free? Yeah, you can, right? Can the next generation do that? You're 3. Well, if your 3 people are making 5, 10, 15, 20,000, they can afford to do it too. So the whole next generation of customers can actually be getting their products for free. And so on, and so on, and so on. Think about it. You have an organization that's expanding based on everybody getting their products for free, and you're making 6% of all the products moving through that organization. Think about that. What other business model is there on this planet where you can actually move products into the marketplace free? You're thinking, how's that possible? How are we making money on free products? I just explained it to you. There will be a point where your network is big enough that you can actually afford to give your products away. Then it'll happen on the next generation. And then it'll happen on the next generation. As long as your network is expanding, that'll keep happening. So you've got an expanding organization. Can you imagine a business concept where we gave away products And we showed people that it was a business opportunity to generate income. Maybe feed a third world country that way. Just a thought. Only possible with this business model. That's why we're not going anywhere. Because this business model is way more efficient than anything else out there. And everything, especially the universe, is towards high degrees of efficiency. So,
Mike, it's Mike.
Yes.
You know, when we have a look at that for the business, we can apply that attitude towards our life as well, because we can give away so much more than just the product. And NECAN helps us to realize that. And for example, I grow a garden, a vegetable garden, and I way overplanted. So I thought, what it has enabled me to do is to give away to those who don't have. So it's the same concept, just in a different way.
Which, by the way, thanks for saying that, Michelle, because this vein of thought is actually getting me thinking. What if one of the goals you have for your NECAN MSI factory, for your NECAN business, your company, is to give away? What if you made a goal, part of your goal was to give away a certain amount of money or a certain amount of product? That was your business objective. In other words, my business is running on all pistons because I'm able to do this. This is just one of the things I'm able to do with my business. I want you to consider this for a moment. Where this is coming from is I met a woman years and years ago, and I think it may have been in Winnipeg, actually. I was at a meeting in Winnipeg. I did a presentation, and this woman learned about my income, and she was so offended by it. It was like, I wouldn't need that much money. And she was terribly offended by the fact that someone was making that kind of money. And I said, well, how much would you need? And she said, oh, I wouldn't need any more than $5,000 a month. That would be more than enough for me. I said, that's fantastic. What would you do with the other $45,000? And I paused. And then she paused for a second, and she thought, well, I would probably do this. And I said, well, that's why I need it too. So if you think about it, if you think about what you would do with the excess, now you have an objective. Now you have a business that compels you to build because you've got something meaningful to accomplish that's beyond your business. Your business now becomes a vehicle for an end in mind that goes beyond the scope of what you get. It's about what you can create, what you can offer. What a business, what a concept to have a business that is one of its objectives, one of its goals is to give away money. And you have a business that you can actually do that. You have a business that you can grow and be compelled to grow for that motivation. I think that's wonderful. And more importantly, who would you be? What would be the vibration you're on as a human being if one of your objectives was to give away money? Who would be attracted to that human being? What kind of people would be gathering around that human being? Think about it. That's the kind of people that are going to flock to you and be attracted to you because you're the kind of person who's vibrating in that space. Those are going to be pretty amazing people, pretty influential people, just like you. So entertaining this idea and setting it as a goal is going to elevate your business dramatically because it elevates you as a person. Wow. I think we're going to have to end this call. Otherwise, I might actually disappear on you. This has been fun. I've enjoyed sharing all these insights with you. And thank you for all of you who've contributed to this call. Again, a reminder, 500 points this month so that you can enable the incentive that's being offered next month. Encourage your team to do that. And there was a point that was brought up about going to Italy. I think it was Lori who said that. Setting a goal for going to Italy. My goodness, guys. Why not? I had such a great time in Japan. It was such an amazing trip. What made it amazing was I was there with amazing people. That's what makes it amazing. Sharing that experience with, like-minded people is what makes it special. So, Italy, I can promise you, it's the most amazing place, especially the food. So why not make that your objective? Set it as a goal. Listen, remember, if this is faith-based and not belief-based, you don't even have to believe it. Just set it as a goal. Give yourself permission to be the person who attracts people to that mission. It's just a decision. And you can have things happen to you that you can't possibly imagine until you go ahead and make that decision. When they do, then things start moving into form. And all of a sudden, you're going to be surprising yourself, like some of the people on this call. You're going to be surprising yourself. What would it take? Hitting platinum. That's only 30,000 points in a month. Only. Handful of people could do that pretty quickly if they made a decision, if they too were interested in going to Italy. Can you find 5 other people who are interested in going to Italy? Just ask your friends and neighbors and relatives. Say, look, I'm looking for 5 people who want to run with me and go to Italy. Next year, all expense paid trip to Italy. I don't care what we do after that. I just want to go to Italy. What about you? So have fun with it. Make a decision. Let's go to Italy. Have a great night, everybody. I'll see many of you in Orlando, and the rest I'll see when I get back. Cheers.